That was heated.
So these are specifically called unenforceable contracts. Here you go. Here's an entire article on it. You can look through that.
All right.
So what's the points that have been presented thus far?
Various points. I have 3 observations, and then I have 6 contentions as to why Santa Claus is evil. I've been through all of them now.
All right, sweet. Let's go. Want to take it top to bottom?
Sure.
All right, sweet.
Okay, so my first observation is that Santa Claus exists. Harvard 17 tells us that 85% of all children believe in Santa Claus. The other 15% are merely conspiracy theorists. And then, my second observation is that Santa can... Wait, what?
Dad, or just don't celebrate it.
No, don't. No. Okay.
You gotta think of your rock. You said Santa Claus is racist. Are you racist as well?
I didn't. Yeah, he literally left. Alright. My second observation is that Santa Claus can morph the space-time continuum, which I have loads of evidence for. And then, my third observation is that Santa Claus is evil, which I will prove in the following 6 contentions. Contention 1. I don't remember it, so I'm gonna have to look at my phone.
All right, I guess we're sticking that one. All right, what's part 2?
Contention. Wait, what?
What's contention 2?
Contention. No. I have to look at my phone for. Okay. Contention 1. Property rights and national security. Effectively, Santa Claus is a trespasser. All states and countries have laws protecting the property rights of individuals. With a stranger stalking children and conducting billions of home invasions, Father Christmas must be despicable. With such technology such as the crafts capable of a hypersonic flight, this is absolutely wrong to let this continue. Our impact is safety. We will never know the motives of a person so elusive and conducting billions of infringements on individual property. Because he has such mobility and ability, we can assume he has the power to elude the government, and therefore he has a national security issue. My contention 2.
I think Santa Claus is the president.
Okay, wait. So before we go into contention 2, I have some objections to this contention.
Go ahead, go for it, bro.
All right. So the premise is the thing we're trying to, not the premise, but the conclusion of your argument is that Santa Claus is evil, correct?
Sure.
Evil refers to morality, correct?
Right.
Right. So how are we making how are we drawing the distinction between an unlawful action and then making it evidence for something being immoral? It seems to be that sometimes breaking the law is a morally righteous thing, depending on your axioms that you're basing it off of.
Right, but he's breaking national security, which would be breaking our consent. As you said in your hypothetical.
Wait.
Can I finish?
Security?
Wait, what?
How's it breaking national security?
Okay, because he's effectively spying on every single person, and he's also going inside their houses. That's what I said.
Okay, why is this wrong?
Why is this wrong? Because people cannot consent to such a thing.
But if 75% of kids believe in it, wouldn't they consent?
But it seems that a lot of people believe in it, and in fact, we even throw celebrations about it. So it seems that people are consenting en masse.
But we cannot confirm that everyone is consenting. And as you said in your hypothetical, Michael knows, if I cut off the person, if I cut off the finger of a person, but I give him infinite good, does that make it does that make it good to do? Of course not.
Of course not.
Consenting.
Obviously, they are consenting.
But not all of them are consenting. So even if there's good, the lack thereof of consent would weigh against it. Because Santa is going up. Look, get this, Bunk. He's going up to all these different people, right? Or he's going up into their houses. He's probably causing property damage. Let's be real here. And then at the top of it, they're not consenting. Okay, Bunk, do you think that there is at least one person...
Wait, take this one at a time. Stop. No. You're going over so many different things. So, first of all, everybody is consenting that Santa visits.
No, it's not. I object.
Yes, it is.
I object.
Do you have any... Alright, so, are you aware of implied consent under the law?
I'm not. You're going to have to familiarize.
So implied consent is where you don't actually individually say that you are consenting to something, but either body language or other forms of communication seem to indicate that you were consenting to something. For example, if you were to celebrate things, if you were to leave out stockings, for example, that would allow Santa to come in, if you were to put a tree up where it is tradition where Santa would put presents underneath it, these would all be things that are implied consent under the law, and therefore everybody who he visits is consenting. We don't have any record of anybody that he visits not having these attributes.
But here's the thing: we can agree that probably is that there's at least one person that is not consenting.
No, we can't.
And he's still going. Yes, we can.
No, we can't. We can't assert that. No, we can't assert that because there's no record of it.
We can assert that.
No, I deny this. I deny this point. Do you have any evidence of it?
I do not. So I guess okay. Well.
Okay. So moving on to the next point. All right. So you said property damage, correct?
That was my first point, which you already rebutted. So my second point, slave labor. Right. Now I got a lot of evidence for this one, bucko. So be prepared. So In today's day and age, slavery is inappropriate and frightening. It is frowned upon and virtually non-existent in the developed world. According to Santa Tracker, there are approximately 110,000 elves being kept as slaves, and the number is due to rise exponentially to around 200,000 by Christmas 2021. In fact, according to Santa Tracker, the official Santa website, the elves receive an unspecified amount of care. With the number of slaves rising exponentially, it is absolutely despicable not to report the conditions of it. Regardless of condition, morally, the consensus is that slave labor is disgusting. Our impact is elf freedom. With the only known major population of elves enslaved, and with elves being presumed sentient, we now know that they do not deserve this treatment. If we do take action now, thousands of elves will be saved. If we do not take action, however, we will never know the conditions and the slave labor involved.
So why would I value an elf? Why is that morally wrong?
Why would you value an elf? Because we would consider that as a person. Because
why would we consider that as a person? Do we have any evidence that would show that an elf has sufficient conditions in order to have conscious experience, or do we have any record of us forming a social contract with any kind of elf whatsoever?
Of course we do, because they could cause a rebellion in the future.
Why haven't they caused a rebellion yet?
Why haven't they? Because they are very ignorant, and they have an internet access. You see, so Santa Tracker, Santa Tracker says specifically that it's slave labor that the elves are actually involved in, and therefore we ought to prioritize because just basic weighing. You can just do basic weighing. So even if it's improbable that it happens, it's so exponentially catastrophic that the elves rebel and kill Santa Claus and kill everyone else in the whole entire world and come to our nation. That the social contract would be what?
Okay, so we're gonna take this point by point, all right?
Okay.
So your first point is that they haven't rebelled yet because they're stupid. They don't have outside contact with the world. You're citing internet access, correct?
Wait, can you repeat that?
So your first point is that they haven't actually rebelled yet because they are ignorant. They don't have outside access to the world. You cited internet access for this point, correct?
Right, and they are now getting internet access, right? Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any evidence that elves are getting internet access?
Well, no.
In addition to this, if they've never had outside contact with the world, then how would we even know that they have a conscious experience that we ought value?
Okay.
How do we know?
Okay, wait. I address both of these points. I said probably the case is that they. Okay, so you would accept that there's a chance that they would have an internet connection, right?
There's a chance of literally everything.
Okay. There's a chance that they could
we don't have epistemic reason to believe. And
if there is a chance, then they could cause nuclear warfare. You gotta hear this, Bunk. They could cause the extinction of every single person, and that would address your subpoint B on because of even if they don't have conscious experience and we cannot prove it, and we cannot prove that they have sentience, because of the social contract doctrine.
No, we have no evidence they have this. We have no reason to epistemically believe this. Sure, there's a possibility, but we have no epistemic reason for belief, so we can't base our arguments off of this morally.
Well, you said that probabilistically.
Probabilistically, literally anything ever could have conscious experience.
Okay, well,
we don't know. There could literally be a rock that has conscious experience, but we'd have no reason to observe that. And we'd have no reason to believe that.
Okay. I'm not saying that they probably have conscious experience. I'm saying that they probably have internet access, and then afterwards of which they can harm humans.
How do we know they have internet access?
What?
How do we know they have internet access?
Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we know. I'm just saying that it's a probability that it's happening.
What makes you think probably?
Okay, well, I mean, I'm saying that I misspoke. I meant to say that we're weighing against it because probability versus consequences, right? So even if it's a 0.1% chance, the consequences that would follow would be so catastrophic that we ought to be better safe than sorry.
Okay, so let me give you this hypothetical, all right, real quick. Sure. All right, let's say that rocks have conscious experience, right?
Sure.
And rocks are actually planning to overthrow the world, and they're planning to drop a nuke on all of us, right?
Sure.
Why aren't we valuing rocks the same way that we would an elf?
Okay, because it's much harder to get rid of rocks and solve for that issue, and also rocks serve us utility. Whereas
there would just be a difference. There would actually just be a difference in how we treat rocks, correct?
I don't know what you mean.
Even so, it would seem to be a catastrophic issue. Or it seems more so that it would be a lot more consistent of a framework to base things off of what we have epistemic reason to believe.
Wait, what?
It seems like it would be a much more consistent framework rather than saying rocks could cause nuclear warfare and therefore we ought to treat them as we do human beings, rather than going with that framework because there's a potentiality of that. We'd rather say that we don't have epistemic reason to believe that rocks have this ability.
Right. Okay, so even if rocks had conscious experience, they couldn't act upon that. And there's
How do you know?
How do I know? There's a 0% chance. You would have to assert that there is a chance.
There's a possibility chance.
No, there's not.
There's the same possibility chance that they have a conscious experience. Yes.
No, there's not. You would have to assert that with a claim or
You'd
not
have
a
to
claim.
assert you'd have to assert they have a conscious experience. You'd have to assert that with a claim.
Yeah, but I'm not asserting that elves have conscious experience. I'm asserting merely that.
Okay, let's say elves don't have conscious experience then. Let's say elves can't even. They don't have internet.
Sure.
It sounds like you're asserting that they have internet. You're asserting that they have conscious experience. Would you agree they don't have either of these two things then?
I'm asserting that they have internet experience, and then afterwards of which they can nuke us.
So what's your evidence for this claim? Have we ever seen an elf on the internet?
I don't have any evidence. I'm just saying that probabilistically we ought to prevent that from happening because it's so easy to do.
Well, I say probabilistically, rocks could have the ability to nuke us all, so we ought to prevent that. Would you agree with this conclusion?
No, of course not.
Why not?
Well, okay, you already conceded that elves could do all these things. So I don't have to provide evidence now. But I never conceded that rocks could do any of those things. So you have to provide evidence for that.
No, but I conceded it to the point of which we would have to assume it. So I said, yes, if we assume that we're going off of statistical probability, there is a chance, then yes, that is true. But I didn't say that it's actually probable at all. I didn't say that we had epistemic reason to believe that they could do these things. Unlike you, following your logic and following the logic that I posed there, we would have to also assume that rocks have conscious experience, unless you can provide me evidence otherwise that would distinguish these two.
Okay, of course, rocks would not. Okay, they can't act upon it. So even if they have conscious experience,
how do you know?
How do I know? Because they've yet to do it. And the internet is a new thing.
And
the internet has not been in the status quo for that long. So we ought to prefer this one because the status quo has changed. The status quo for rocks has not changed. Therefore, you ought to prefer this. You have to prefer this. You must endorse this.
Rocks could access the internet too. What are you talking about?
No, they couldn't.
There's no difference. No, there's nothing that you posited. I said that they can. Probably they can. I mean, there's a chance that they can. Yes.
Okay.
You see,
there's not even
you're
a chance.
Failing to recognize. You're failing to recognize that we always work in probabilities. We always work in probabilities. That's what we always do. But unfortunately, unless we have epistemic reason to believe something, even if there's a probability of it happening, we don't really act off of it. Unless you'd like to deny this, in which case you'd have to give rocks the same kind of credence that you're giving an elf.
Of course, I wouldn't.
You can't prove to me. No, you can't prove to me that rocks can't act on these preferences.
Okay, fine. I agree with you. Okay, rocks to do that, so we have to eliminate all rocks too. We can do both. We can solve for both. Yeah.
All right. Next thing.
Okay, so I won that one. Okay,
no, you didn't win that one. Every single person that's ever seen you say that will say that's fucking absurd.
No,
so that would actually go against you.
I was consistent in my logic, sir.
Yeah, and I was consistent in my logic too. Next question.
What the fuck? Okay.
Bunk, you're off.
You see,
all right, let's go on to the biggest point I have yet.
That we need to eliminate all rocks, and that would be completely absurd to them. You're basically filling out the ballot for them by conceding that point. Anyways.
Okay. COVID-19. Santa visits virtually every family in the world. This means that Santa will visit the homes of COVID patients, including those with the new Omicron COVID variant. Visiting hundreds of thousands of COVID patients will mean infection for the jovial man. However, Santa cannot die. Rather, through contact and droplet spread, Santa will cause a major wave in COVID outbreaks. And with the new Omicron variant with higher lethality as well as transmission, Omicron prevalence will skyrocket. Woodley 21 finds that the Omicron COVID variant will certainly trigger worldwide shutdowns and slam the progress of economics around the globe.
All right, so I object to this on your second premise.
Okay, go ahead.
The second premise being that he morphs the space-time continuum. So why couldn't he morph the space-time continuum in such a way which we would never come into contact with any other human being ever? In addition to this, we have no record of Santa ever spreading COVID-19 or anyone even coming into contact with Santa Claus. So how can we posit that he will for sure be spreading COVID-19 when we have no record of him spreading COVID-19? You've already posited that he could do all that he does without spreading COVID-19 due to his ability to morph the space-time continuum.
Okay, he can morph the space-time continuum, but that does not follow logically that he can also do COVID-19. This is also comes down to weighing. We must weigh against the consequentiality of COVID-19 versus getting presents. Getting presents is not as important as preventing COVID-19, as COVID-19 has a lot less, can sacrifice utility a lot more so than presents can. Therefore, we ought to prefer this impact other than your impact, I would assume being presents being spread.
So you don't, yes, what do you mean by space-time continuum? What do you mean by he can morph the space-time continuum?
I have fucking, what I mean by that, I basically just mean that he can visit every single house, in the world in 24 hours.
Would this go against physical reality as we understand it?
Well, I have carded evidence, and in a debate round, you always have to
Definitely,
prefer
yeah.
carded evidence.
What this
Therefore,
no. I'm just asking. Can he break the physics as we know it?
sure.
Because that's what morphing
Of course
space
he
time
can,
anyone
because
would
the
tell.
card,
Okay, so
evidence
you
told
can't
me
use
so.
physics. So you'd agree with me now that you conceded the fact that he can't use that he isn't abided or he isn't obligated to follow the laws of physics. That using the laws of physics to prove that he would spread COVID-19 would be a flawed premise, right?
Of course not.
No, you just agreed that he isn't bound by the laws of physics, and then you're trying to use the laws of physics to prove that he would spread COVID-19. But as you've already admitted, he isn't bound by the laws of physics. So how is this a proof?
Okay, shut the fuck up. Next point. What the fuck? Okay, next point. I'm really glad someone this seriously is actually debating me right now, because I thought it was just gonna be brain dead people. Like, I don't know. Okay, so next point: malicious espionage. This is the biggest point yet. All right, subpoint A: security threat. According to SantaUpdate.com, Santa knows when you are sleeping. He knows when you are awake. This is upsetting to any sane person who is concerned about children's safety and desire for private life. Those leads to our subpoint. Wait, actually, I just thought of something. Can I address the formal rebuttal?
Sure.
Okay, so in a debate round, you always have to prefer carded evidence. Because I provided carded evidence, whereas my opponent did not, you have to prefer it.
Okay.
What's your objection?
I would agree with that.
Okay, so then I provided carded evidence, whereas you didn't.
Card evidence of what?
That he's going to spread COVID-19, that he also can break the space-time continuum.
Well, your carded evidence that you've already provided also contradicts what you said. So I'm using your carded evidence against you on this statement. Your observation that you started off at the beginning.
Okay, fine. I just dropped the point at this point. All right. Subpoint B: authoritarian takeover. According to The Sun, there are surveillance cameras that report the child's status.
No, we're on the espionage point.
Oh, yeah, there's two subpoints. There's subpoint A and subpoint B.
Okay.
Subpoint
Sure.
B: authoritarian takeover. According to The Sun, there are surveillance cameras that report the child's status at all times. Judge realizes that is an attempt to undermine parental control and instead promote good citizenship amongst children. While this may sound good, this is not at all reminiscent of the book 1984 by George Orwell. This can only spiral from seemingly good intentions to malign authoritarianship. We can see more evidence of surveillance as well as authoritarian rhetoric. And Santa knows when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. The impact is an authoritarian dictatorship.
Would you say having evidence or having knowledge of something is inherently morally wrong or would lead to an authoritarian dictatorship?
Of course.
You think that having information leads to an authoritarian dictatorship?
Yeah, when it's information about people's privacy, of course, and private life that they don't want you having.
Okay, so would you posit the idea that sites like Facebook are actually authoritarian dictatorships?
Well, no, because you can agree to the terms and conditions, and they have that in there. So there's consent.
Do you think that most people have read through the terms and conditions to a point of which they would legally be able to consent to them?
It's legally binding.
Yeah, many things are legally binding, but if you haven't read through a contract sufficiently,
okay,
or if
well,
there's parts of the
how
contract
is
that
it
seem to be deceptive, they will actually null that contract's agreement actually within court. This is quite a frequent thing, and Facebook's actually been sued over this multiple different times. In addition to this, Facebook has never been really secure with their data, and they've been seen to breach that contract multiple different times. So would you posit the idea that Facebook is actually leading us to authoritarian government? In fact, in a more so larger scale than that of Santa Claus, because Santa Claus would only need to know when you're asleep or awake, and Facebook has much more important information, much more crucial information that would lead to a stronger authoritarian dictatorship.
I would like to say that I disagree with the court's hearing on that, and I would like to say that I disagree with that, and it is actually agreeing.
You disagree with the idea that
Wait,
contracts can be null and void if they seem to have predatory practices?
Can you show me that evidence?
Obscured warning?
Can
Would
you
you
show me
like me to provide with carded evidence of that?
Of course I would.
That was muted.
So these are specifically called unenforceable contracts. Here you go. Here's an entire article on it. You can look through that.
All right. Sure.
To read directly from it, it says, if a court does not find a contract to be unconscionable being not right or reasonable, or to be predatory in some way, it has the option of just voiding the agreement altogether.
Can I get like a particular statement from it that proves
Yeah,
your
no,
point?
I just read off a particular statement from it, right there.
Okay. Okay. Sure. So I would object to that by saying that I disagree with the court's hearing again, and that the court ought to prefer when people have the decision to read a contract or not, it is unethical to sue someone if they do not read it because it's
Okay, being that you disagree with the court's hearing on this, would you not also agree with me, as you conceded already on point 1, that they are consenting to this Santa Claus interaction in a way, in the way of implied consent, legally speaking?
I would say that no, they are not consenting with implied consent.
How so?
Okay,
would you not say that putting out stockings for Santa Claus to put things in?
Yeah, but not everyone does that,
and
yet everyone already we've already been over the fact that Santa Claus visits everyone's house.
No, he doesn't. How do we have record that he visits every single person's house?
How do we have record? I can give you evidence.
How does he visit every? Yeah, so he visits every single person's house. Yes.
Sure. Hold on. Give me a second. I gotta find it. Okay, I don't have particular evidence, but I do have. It is common knowledge that Santa Claus goes around and he visits all the people of the world.
That doesn't seem to be common knowledge, because as you've already posited, there are quote-unquote conspiracy theorists who don't believe in Santa Claus and have no evidence to agree that Santa Claus does have existence.
Okay, well,
in addition to this, there are many places. No, in addition to this, there are many places of which he has absolutely no evidence of being there, in which he does not provide presence.
Okay.
Such as those people who follow the religion of Judaism. So how could you say that he visits every single person's house with no evidence towards this fact?
Okay, I can say that because that's only 15% of the children. You see, 85% believe in it. If 85% of someone believes,
and how many of those children have put up stockings?
And what?
How many of those children have put up stockings?
85% of those children believe that Santa Claus is actually going to visit their homes and provide whatever you want, right? Whatever they have. And the other 15% would surely disagree, because because why would they disbelieve in something if they liked it or if they wanted it?
Why would they disbelieve in something if it had visited them in a confirmable way? In addition to this, would you disagree with me on the fact that actually there are some places of which there is no record of Santa Claus, and such as houses that follow a Judaistic approach?
Of course I wouldn't agree. He visits everyone.
Okay? Do you have any evidence that there has been presence placed by Santa Claus with a statement from Santa Claus, as we would normally be able to prove, at a Judaistic house?
No, but that's a general knowledge. And as my first point stated, if a majority of people believe in something, it has to be true.
How can this be the case? If we have constantly changing opinions, and we found that popular opinion has changed, would you say that physical reality has changed with it?
Yeah, of course.
You say that physical reality has changed with the shifting opinion?
Yeah.
Could you prove that to me in any way?
Could you prove that physical reality stays as it is throughout a
so we've never had an observation that has been completely inconsistent with a previous observation. That has never happened ever. All observations have remained consistent in a scientific fashion.
Wait, what?
However, popular opinion has contradicted itself. So we'll never have two observations throughout science that cannot exist as one another, as stated by the law of non-contradiction, right? There cannot be two contradictory outcomes that are both true.
Yeah.
Would you agree with this? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So being that this is the case, and if we acknowledge the fact that we have some kind of observable reality, right? Every single observation that has been conducted in a scientific way has never had a contradictory conclusion, something that cannot exist at the same time as another observation. But in contrast to this, actually, there has been contradicting observations by mass opinion. This has happened. So how can one of these things that actually does in a way violate the law of non-contradiction?
Okay,
true,
I can answer this.
I can answer
this. It's because one group has at least one or more individuals which believe in it, and if there's one or more individuals, that from a utilitarianism perspective outweighs.
And it outweighs.
Yeah, of course it outweighs.
How so? How can you show me that this is actually giving any kind of gratification whatsoever?
Because, okay, so like for instance, if I have two, and then I have another group of two people, but then I add one to one of them, then 3 outweighs 2. That's acceptable.
3 outweighs 2. But
yeah.
How could you say this belief? Let's say this belief is actually harmful to the individuals. Could you say that is true? That is inherently true? No, what you're actually be arguing for is you'd be arguing that it is actually beneficial, a moral right that they stay in the delusion, not that the delusion is actually correct.
Wait, what?
So utilitarianism is a moral perspective. It does not deal in physical reality in the same way, right? So we can't posit things that are true because they would be correct. And this is that is ought gap.
Wait, hold on. I gotta check my mic. Give me a second.
Okay.
All right, I checked it. We're good. Okay, so back to what we were saying. Can you repeat that?
So the problem with your actual conclusion is that you're trying to use utilitarianism, which is inherently a system, which is a normative system, which tries to tell us what ought be. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, you're trying to use a moral system to prove an is, something that is a descriptive claim. The problem is that, as posited by the Scottish philosopher David Hume, there's an is-ought gap, to the point where things that are ises cannot be oughts, inherently. You have to clear a difference. It's not sufficient to say that something ought to be because it is, and that it's not something to say that it is because it ought be. These are two different types of statements.
Oh, okay, I think I understand. But can you explain it in a simpler way, just so I can understand more?
The description. So let's say I have a phone on my desk, right? So I have my phone on my desk. That is an is, right? I do have my phone on my desk. That does not describe that I ought to have my phone on my desk. I can change that, and that statement will change, but that would not change a normative system in any way. In addition to this, I could use a normative moral system to maybe determine that my phone ought to be like beside me at all times. But that wouldn't sufficiently say that my phone is with me at all times, because that cannot be true while the ought statement is true. So these are clearly two different types of statements, as by the law of non-contradiction, as we've already stated.
Okay, I dropped my point. Okay, next thing. Yeah, we were on malicious espionage. Yeah, did you actually respond to that? The authority.
Yeah, we responded to that with the implied consent. That's what we were actually on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, next point. So, copyright infringement. Father Christmas steals. He is despicable. He is despicable, and he is horrible to the manufacturer he buys from, or manufacturers he buys from. Suppose he buys a Lego TM set for a kid. The kid is thinking that he is getting the toy from Santa, not the manufacturer. This leads to copyright issues. Santa clearly attempts to undermine copyrights. With Santa's large influence and reach, this negation of copyrights is detrimental. Gabler 21 finds that this would inevitably lead to significant confusion and chaos, not only in the marketplace, but in society as a whole. The artistic arena would quickly deteriorate as artists, authors, and other creative individuals would sacrifice financial protection for their creators.
So how does this deal with the idea of elves? Is he purchasing things, or are the elves working for him?
He's purchasing the things with which he uses for the elves, or with which the elves use to actually make things, so to manufacture them, so to say, right?
So would you say that he's buying things from the manufacturers?
Well, he's doing a little bit of both. He's actually getting things both from the manufacturer, and he's doing the elves. Like, that's a false dichotomy. He can do both at the same time.
Is he buying things from the supplier?
Yeah, because, like, for instance, if a child were to ask, and Santa were to, like, pick that up with his little security cameras, he would certainly know. We've already established this. And then after that, Santa Claus would be like, okay, well, he wants a Lego TM set. I can't make that on my own. He's got to go get it.
Oh, okay. So I understand. So would you say that it's wrong to purchase gifts for family members then?
No.
Why not? We run into the same copyright issues.
Okay, it's not, because they're going to know that it's a Lego TM set, whereas with the child, they can be easily confused as to if it was Santa Claus.
How so? How so? It both says that it's from the parent, or it's from Santa Claus, and then in addition to that, it is branded. It is labeled by the brand. So, and under any condition where Santa Claus will be buying something, there'd be no distinction between that and a family member buying something. So, would you posit the idea that buying things for your family is wrong? And then in addition to that, it doesn't seem to violate in copyright law, because we are able to do that within the United States of America without ever being sued by any company ever.
No comment. All right. My final point. Okay. Economic harm. Santa actively causes the price of goods to soar by buying at low prices at large quantities, depleting stocks and causing goods to have price increases that can harm the consumer. The first impact is the proletarian. The proletarian is negatively affected by these price increases. The second impact is economic collapse. The depletion of said stocks can cause a recession. Given the stocks market's current instability, the odds of the economic downpour are largely increased. We can see the proof of this in Amito 21. As the decline continues, the economy contracts, creating a recession. In the past, stock market depletion preceded the Great Depression. In the 2001 recession, the Great Recession of 2008.
So I object to this completely. This is actually descriptively wrong. Do you understand why?
No, but you can tell me why.
So actually, Christmas is actually typically the largest economic stimulus out of anywhere in the country. This would be from Statistica.com. It's a typically it goes over most economics news. I will actually link it to you as we are talking right now. Here you go. It actually cites directly from here that Christmas is the largest economic stimulus for many nations around the world. Sales increased dramatically almost at all retail areas. In addition to this, the entire idea behind capitalism is the idea that wealth is produced as transactions happen. So the more transactions that are happening, the inevitably larger your economy will grow. There's no such thing as a bad transaction for an economy. This is just simply not the case because market forces tend to control for value. In addition to this, unless Santa is forcing stock market prices down, which you have not posited, and I'm guessing you don't have any evidence for that, then it would actually just be an overall economic benefit to have more trade going on around that time of year, as it has been shown by multiple different sources, which I can all link to you, and by actual the history of Christmas itself. It seems that our economy benefits during Christmas time. In addition to this, Christmas time has never caused a Great Depression, as you posited. So, yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, okay, I'm just fucking wrong. You win.
Okay.
GG's.
The Christmas debate, dude. You do realize we both look like massive retards for having this debate, right?
Yeah, I know, and I'm posting this on YouTube, by the way. Really, I really thank you for doing this, because I needed someone for this. I really wanted to do this.
Bro, I saw you were debating Santa Claus. I thought that was the funniest shit ever.
Well, hey, someone did it at my debate tournament, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta do it, you know? It'd be funny, and it'd be
Someone ran the Santa Claus argument at the debate tournament.
Oh, I crushed that kid at the debate tournament. I basically just had a card saying Santa Claus doesn't exist, and then I delinked the subject matter from the resolution, and I said it deviates from the resolution, and then, what was that? The third thing I did was I basically responded to his anti-realist perspective, which is just that, like 85% of children believe in that. I responded in like two ways. Firstly, those are children, so we can just drop that, and furthermore, most adults disbelieve in Santa Claus, so that would be a logical contradiction, and it wouldn't be logically possible. And then the second thing I said was like, most people believed at a time that the Earth was flat, and yet, and then the public consensus on that matter actually changed, right? So when it changed, did the Earth change from flat to non-flat? Like, no, of course not.
Yeah, no. You like kind of held by that, so it was like, that's like an is-ought problem.
No, it really would have been easy to respond to you, because you could have just said, okay, what's going to happen if 50% believe that something is, and the other 50% believe that something is not? Then it's a logical contradiction. And it has to be either one. I could have done
that, but that sounds a whole lot less cool, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like law of non-contradiction is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just kind of true, but I didn't think of that. I thought of like the way more complicated way to deal with that problem.
I don't know why you would go for that one, but good job, because you're the best person I've debated, I think, on the fucking internet, like, on a fucking joke case, so that's great.
Yeah, dude. Bro, can I upload this as well, TheTurnz?
Oh, sure, I'm cool with it. I mean, it's gonna have, like, my face cam in it, though, so I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't care. I literally don't care. No, I don't think any of my like viewers care either. I'm pretty sure they just put it on in the background anyway.
Oh, cool.
I don't think anyone like watches. I legitimately don't think anybody watches like my content actively. It's always just like in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. This is a great debate. I fucking got destroyed though. That's okay. We can debate seriously about something when I actually fucking write the thing and I don't steal it from a kid from my debate tournament.
Bro.
Most of the shit I didn't even understand, like condition 1 or 6. I was like, uh-oh, I don't fucking understand this.
Bro, the authoritarianism point was actually really funny to me.
It's like,
Santa Claus is literally an authoritarian. He's 1984 inherently.
Yeah. Have you read that book?
I've actually never read George Orwell's 1984. I do want to get it, though, so badly. Like, I really want to read through it. The problem is, I just haven't done it. I'm lazy. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've heard recaps of like, the story, right? But I haven't read it myself.
Yeah,
I'm lazy.
I don't even really know it that well. Like, I've heard people talk about it and be like, okay, that's kind of interesting, and then I just kind of forget about it.
I just hear the word Orwellian thrown around a lot, and I think it's funny.
Yeah.
And like you just say like this is literally 1984. Like if I get like suspended from Twitter, I just say it's like 1984.
Fuck Bunk. Tired of that dumbass loser. Crying in his bedroom while I'm cruising in my cruiser. This dumbass bitch, thinking that he's cool while streaming on Twitch. Call this Vietnam, we're gonna get you on a weight loss program. Everyone knows, you will never be a pro. Well, I'm putting my rap game, always tripping out, never no problems with burnout. The vids keep coming, so does the drama, clearing your notepad. Your tweets aging with a granddad. Capital of Chad, doing flips, everyone in the chat.